The Book of Honey, by Isadora Rochers, Chapter 7, Cringe Moments, December 2029. William, I am playing the meeting in my head, trying to puzzle it all together. While Beck is gone and back after some time. When he enters the office, he tells me, "Grab your jacket and let's go, William." I learned a long time ago when Beck tells you to do something you don't ask, you just do. So, I had my jacket on and we went a different way than the one I came in at. Beck's car was waiting there for us. We drive just a bit when he stops. In Beck's car, he adjusts his mirror. When he says, "Look, William." On the street corner, there was Honey. Beck says to me, "We're going to follow her and see how far we can get today." I ask him, "How will she feel about that?" He says to me, "Oh, I've done it a couple of times, but she always manages to lose me at the same point. Just watch." Honey crosses the street from one corner to another. We drive slowly, keeping her in view. The entire time she has her head down and looks at her phone. I thought that she looked like so many people I see walking around. But I notice her pace never slows, she never bumps into anyone, and she does this for several blocks. When it hits me, she's using her phone to see where she's going. He nods. "Took you long enough to put that together?" I ask, "Have you ever tried to follow her on camera?" Beck gives me a look like I've asked a stupid question. When he tells me, "Well, of course, I have, William. Every time I've checked the footage of a camera, I know she has passed by for 5 seconds or so. The camera has a blip in it. When you look at the footage, she is just not there. I don't know what she does or how, but for 5 seconds when she passes by a camera, she makes herself unseen. Except for the cameras at the audit building." I ask him, "Why those?" Beck says, "I never stop to ask her, but I suspect that it's because it's where your government does all its intelligent work. And messing with them is asking for someone to come and pick us up, and she knows it." We watch Honey for a few more blocks when she hops to a construction site and turns and waves to us, giving a very rude one-finger salute, and when a bus passes cutting off our view, she is gone. I sat back in amazement. When Beck outright laughs, I had to stare at him. I don't believe I'd ever heard him laugh. "So," I say, "what's so damn funny, Beck?" Beck tells me through his laughter. "I don't know what's funnier, her losing me every time or the reaction on your face, William." There is a ding on Beck's phone that makes him open the phone, clicking on a notification. When he hands me and speaks, "Put that into a translator for me, Cantonese to English." I look at a notification from a blog in an Asian-style script. I copied and pasted it into the translator. When I read out loud, it says, "You're not even trying anymore." There is another ding after that one. When I translate, it says, "This is the last easy one I'm giving you, Uncle Bruce. From now on you're going to need more than a decoder ring to help you." This brings on another boom of laughter from Beck. I don't believe I've seen him enjoy himself this much ever. When he says to me, "We're headed to my place, so I can show you where to get started." We drove a distance to Beck's apartment. We were going to his extra room he kept for censoring hours of info to then translate into a brief. He didn't say a word till the doors were closed. I sit in an armchair. Beck grabs a beer for us. My questions couldn't hold themselves back anymore. "So, Beck, how did you meet Honey?" He looks at me. "It's a heck of a tale. You're going to get a kick out of it, William." I truly am intrigued. I am all ears. Beck begins. 2 years ago, That girl slipped into the audit building and hand-delivered to me a bacon butty and a peach iced tea from Pop Pops. Can you believe that? I couldn't help but snort. You let that happen? He says. Yeah, I about kicked myself. I went over the footage after she left. I only spotted her twice on the way in. She was good. I had words with my security and maintenance about better security for the civilian employees. 2 bites in before she admitted to me, she was the one who bought me lunch. I had to give her a hand, so I gave her a 2-minute count in my mind. She placed a phone on my desk. It was the dead agent I had lost contact with, so she and I had a recorded conversation. She is one of CEO's entertainers. She is a cage fighter and a victim of human trafficking. Beck takes a deep drink of his beer and then lets out a bletch. When he continues. With the tip-off, we retrieved my guy and returned him to his family. Then it was like Christmas was raining from the sky. She handed me names of associated businesses, schedules, lists of names, and as many pictures as that little phone could put on it. I never thought I'd see the day when Bruce Beck was excited about anything. To him, life always seemed to happen on his terms. Which meant very little seemed to surprise him. This girl has lit a spark in Beck that made him come alive. Then he tells me about Honey's operation. She even set up a way of communicating with me through a series of blogs under different languages, 3 of the hardest languages, Hungarian, Celtic, and Cantonese. She leaves encrypted comments under a dozen names. When the heat is on, she snatches a handful of phone from people that are unhappy and plant false information on people who get in her way. All the while playing a dumb fighter that lives for the ring here. He handed me a digital recorder and a pair of headphones. This is the recording. Have a listen and make up your mind if you want in. If you do, you can familiarize yourself with the materials that she's handed me. Beck worked on transcribing her info. I press play and I spend the next couple of hours listening to Beck and Honey in an interrogation. It was a shock to learn that person was just 15. Honey was a complex puzzle, and on nights to come when my life's problems weigh on me, this girl will cross my mind. Thinking about her will push me to stop complaining and work harder. I put the headphones down next to Beck. He immediately asked, "What do you think?" I say, "She's precocious." I admit, it's a surprise how deep she's in. Beck says, "If that ain't the truth." Beck turns, looking me in the eye. Then says, "I almost feel guilty having to use her this way." There is a pause. Almost, but she's chosen this and has shown no signs of wavering about the risks. She is probably my most valuable piece on the board right now. Through her efforts, we have bagged gun runners from the US to Russia. Busted 2 drug rings in the US. Rescued a dozen trafficked men, women, and children. There is another long pause from Beck. I know this will end at some point. My wish is to see her through this alive. She never lost her freedom under their boot. I can't help but admire her every time I see Honey. She makes this old man want to work a little harder. The world may never know what she's done, but as I draw breath I will always know, and now you too, William Sheeran, know. There was a look in Beck's eyes that I had never seen before. It was clear he admired this girl. To me, that was strange, seeing the stone-cold Beck ever consider someone that much. Beck and I started hashing out the details about the upcoming raid. He gives me only the information that pertains to the London drop. Honey's cover in the CEOs was too important to compromise. Beck would handle everything she'd given him personally. His saying is the best way to keep a secret is to tell no one. Because even when you leak something on purpose, once it's out, controlling the spread is tiring. The only reason he trusts me is he trained me and knows what I'm about. There were things about what Honey gave him that made me flinch. Beck, is Honey's info about the local people right? Because I see some on this list and I understand, but others I know worked in the department for years. They are some of the strictest people I know. Beck looked at me. William, when corruption hits it often rolls downhill. People with more to lose are often the first to fold. Honey's info is coming from first-hand encounters. How she does it is an art form all its own. I am always going to assume everything she brings me is right. It helps us keep our circle small and where to leak stuff falsely. Why do you, Beck, probably the most skeptical American in London, trust this girl so much? This pause was even longer than all the rest. This time he kept working. What can I say? What told me to let this girl walk in here, and allow her to say and do as she pleased? I don't know. You know me, I have never let anyone off the hook at first sight. There was always a chance she was a bug or some plot to bring me down. It crossed my mind more than once as I combed everything she said in that interview. What pulled me in was when her 14-year-old self unzipped her jacket and asked me to listen to her or think about 5-year-old Natalie Ledger biting the nuts off a guy with a gun in his hand. Beck looked up, took a deep breath, and sighed heavily. Then was back to the work in front of him. Back up went his stone face. I let out a sigh and speak. That was a cringe moment in the interview. Beck nods. Yep, I had to uncross myself at hearing her tell me that with a straight and sober look in her eyes. I nod. I can only imagine. Beck tells me. You know, William, maybe it was the look in those amber eyes that reminded me of something. I listened to that recording many times. When I start slipping in my resolve to see all this through without giving in, I listen to it again. If Honey the Leona bee can do battle with the forces of evil from inside the nest, I can do it from this desk. For Beck, that was oddly forthcoming. It seemed unlike him. If Beck was satisfied, I guess I didn't need to question him. His intuition was always in top form. When you can't lead, stop and listen. Lead when no one wants to, and never let others be an excuse, because no one will listen if you can't accept the things you're capable of, and admit to the mistakes you make. I always try to keep the things Beck tells in mind. They have led me here, and I am grateful for all that he does for me.